Well, here's the story thus far. This should not be pointing up like that. This was an easy one. Now, I am going to make this one smaller. I'm going to make that one bigger so the minifigs have a place to be. There was 2 minifig packs according to Lugnet, one in 1978 and one in 1979. I didn't know yellow guys were available in 1979, so the jury's still out, but it says pack number 0014, so I put it in just because. And I said I wasn't going to do minifigs, but whatever. So this one was an easy layout. 11 sets and 12 and 13 if you count the 2 minifigs. And I can make that one smaller so it'll fit nicer. But this was nice. It didn't take too much effort to fit all the pieces together and have them look good. The next one, 80. Now, I was debating. I was going to stop in 81. But then 82 and 83 didn't have too many sets. So that would have been tiny. So this is 1980 to 1983. And so the yellow guys appeared in 1982, besides those guys over there. Now this was a much harder one. I think there are 18 sets, maybe 21 I didn't count. Well, I did count, but I forgot. I wanted at least that guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy to be together because they do seem to be a little bit cohesive in the set. Whereas the Beta 1 and this guy with a lot of trans yellow, no trans blue, they seem to belong more over here than they do over here. This thing that's this guy's a hybrid between the trans blue and the trans yellow, but the shifts were white, except for the X1, which again belongs probably more over there than over here, but it came out after 1979. So I had fun with this one, but it was a lot of work to try to get all the pieces to fit together. And some are a little tight, and some are a little too big, like one of my favorite sets is in this big box here. But then I had to have the big box there. Now I could probably shrink that a little bit this way and make these guys bigger. You know, I might do that because again, when you're doing it this way, he fits perfectly across, but you put him at an angle, you can like take a 1/2 inch off of that and make that one 1/2 inch bigger, which I just may do because these guys are pretty tight inside their little boxes. The all-terrain, I wanted to make a big box so you could have the lab part out of it, but I couldn't do that here. The Starfleet Voyager, it's taking up the entire box on the angle, so I can't make that any smaller, though I could make a small box there and a small box there, but I don't want, the idea so far is not to have overlapping boxes, that there be space between all the boxes. These guys overall fit really well, except for, again, the lab at the top, which is kind of stuck in a very small box at the top. But I don't know. The Beta 1, obviously there. What I may do, and basically I wanted it to flow like smallest set number somehow to biggest set number. So this is the smallest set numbers, getting bigger set numbers, and then 6970 and 6980. The problem is that the 6930, which is a tiny number, smaller number, is a bigger set when you're looking at it across. Like you can't see the Galaxy Commander behind it. So I just may swap these two. And so put the building in the back beside the Beta 1, the space supply station, and put the Galaxy Commander up front, which again would even suit this better because it'll be next to what I say the cohesive theme of this era is the 6890 and the 6980, and even the Starfleet Voyager. So swapping those two, because they're both exactly the same size, that might be something I'm going to do. Because again, if this is on the table and the audience is looking at it from this side, the Galaxy Commander is kind of hidden behind this space supply base. So, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, this guy's pretty big too. but it's odd that, that is set number 6950. Oh, they should have swapped. That's 6930. So, yeah, I can't remember why I did it that way. But anyway, in the end, I am going to swap those two because, again, I've already ruined my numbering sequence to go from smallest to biggest. And so that's that. Now we get into my next set, and I can't believe, so Vizio has a problem. It's not a problem, but I'm separating these things into multiple Vizio diagrams in the tabs at the bottom of Vizio. So this 1978, 1980 is one tab, and then I go with 1984, which I haven't done yet, and on, because basically I have to measure all the sets to figure out the box sizes. And then I put the boxes together and somehow come up with an idea. And I have some wiggle room. I changed like a half an inch here and a half an inch there in the box size to make them nice and fit together. So 698, I mean the 1984 on, I think I separated 1984, 1986. So I think there's 18 or 21 in 1984, and there's about the same number of sets in 1986. So they're going to be equally as big as this. 86 includes 1987 Classic Space. And then Futuron's next after that. So yes, I know Blacktron's not after Classic Space. But Blacktron was easy, because look how many sets there are. Now, again, I don't have one right in the middle, because I haven't built that. I've never built that little set, because it came out a bunch of years later. And the ship itself doesn't match the color scheme, but it does have a Blacktron character, and it does say in Lugnet that it belongs to the Blacktron 1 theme. So I am going to build it, and I'm going to drop it right in the middle of that square, the center square. But I want, and so Vizio, I set the page size, I set the printer size, I set the 100%, because this is exactly 30 inches from that yellow line to the top yellow line. So it's 2.5 feet across. It's exactly the same size as a regular tray module, and it's exactly the same width as most tables that shows. So that's the idea. So 30 inches across, and however long it has to be, right? This is approximately 80 inches to here. So that's going to be longer than the usual 2.5 foot by 6 foot table. It is 80 feet. So you'd have to have tables spun together. But again, we used to do this at shows all the time. And so I'm not too worried about that. I just keep on going. Now, I don't want a whole row of, like, I wasn't going to make a whole roll of vinyl, go to the printers and get a whole roll of all the themes together on one big roll. What I plan on doing is this is one section. So that's 1978 to 1980. And then the 1984 and 1986 will be the next section. And then Futuron is big enough probably to be its own section, because there's a monorail in there. So it will be big enough to be on its own. And then Blacktron Space Police 1. Blacktron 1. But I'm not putting the ones in here. This is Blacktron 1987 versus Blacktron whatever else, 1990, whatever. And this is Space Police 1989. Now, basically, I cut and paste this over there. So all those are exactly the same size. So I have to jiggle those around. And also you can tell that the printer does a very, very rudimentary job, because this goes from black to yellow, and that goes from black to blue, because that's this, and then the borders are red because they use trans red, and the borders are yellow because they use trans yellow. So Blacktron, what happened was that this one was completely set up perfectly. I created a new tab in my Vizio document. I moved some parts over here to this Vizio document, which is a sub tab of the first one. And I changed the names, and I made the squares, and I changed the colors, blah, blah, blah. I didn't set 100%. It must have been clicked on to print to fit, because this doesn't line up with here. So this one is slightly, and I realized that when I put the meshes intercept base down, because there was no border around it. Whereas you look over here, there's a border around that one, and even that one, because these things are 20 inches by 10 inches, and that square is supposed to be 21 inches by 11 inches. So there's supposed to be a half an inch on each side of that, and there isn't. So this thing actually got scaled down slightly, very, very slightly got scaled down. So I'm going to have to remember that when I print next time. I hate wasting paper, and this is supposed to be my test before I ship it off to the printers to print on vinyl, to make sure everything fits. And so far for Blacktron, again, it's out of scale, and because there's not a lot of sets in Blacktron, I didn't have too much of play for the squares, the rectangles, to fit together like a puzzle. So, I mean, the Batrax is fitting into its square pretty good. This guy is not fitting into his square pretty good. I think he's overlapping. Well, he's not. He's right in there. But again, I could make that a lot smaller. But again, it has to, this guy, you know, I couldn't fit all three on an angle like that. and this guy. There's not enough room here between that and I didn't want to make it bigger, right? Because then I have too much space. So I decided to put the alienator up and down like that. And then there's enough space in the middle of these four to build that little one that's from a couple of years later. I just didn't bother yet. The Renegade's looking as gorgeous as ever. I was so happy. I pulled that out. And yeah, some of these sets, like I had to get the Beta 1 out of storage and I had to get the supply station out of storage. The rest of them, this one came right out of my my box out in the garage for the layout. I think some of these actually came out of the box for the layout, so I'm gonna have to remember to put them back in if I ever do another show. So it is what it is. But having the Blacktron together and seeing, yeah, so this is supposed to be bright yellow and black, and then a slightly less black, a dark gray in between, and a black border on the outside. And so what I was thinking today was the printers can print these, you've seen the vinyls, they can make them any size you want basically overall within reason. So this is 30 inches wide, which is perfect, and everything's fitting so far with at least 3 panels. What I'm going to do, what I may do is this lip here, because this is another inch down, I may have it come out 6 or 7 more inches and then put the logos in the front, so when it hangs over the table, you'll see Classic Space or Blacktron on the front as well as on top in the there, and have the logos along the front as well. If I ever decided to put this on the floor, because it's kind of neat to see them on the floor or something on the low. So when you're walking past and there's stanchions here, there's going to be like whatever, and you can see because you can read the actual, you know, I changed it so it says set number and the name, and then the bottom line says year and number of pieces. And I do want somebody, before I send this off to the printers, to verify all that. So I'll be sending somebody the PDF of all these, and they can verify, please, that I got all my typos and spelling mistakes and piece count and year released as accurate as possible, because I know I'm not pedantic, but I know I make mistakes, and I know that if somebody came to me after I printed it and said, oh, by the way, you spelled Blacktron wrong, or this is supposed to be 400 pieces, not 20, because you read the wrong one and typed it in. I would love for somebody, and again, this is not now, because I've only got these 3 done, and I got a lot more to go. But now it's coming together. Like after my first initial attempt, these 2 took about a day apiece, off and on. That one was actually pretty easy. So I'm happy with it. I think it looks really awesome. I think it's going to do a nice service to a show. And again, I don't have to bring all of them. I can just bring, for a small show, I can just bring this one, right? They're all going to be in separate totes, in Ziplocs, by the way, because I cannot keep all these things together. They have to be somewhat dismantled and brought to a show. So I'll have to have the ability to put these things back together, as I did with the 4 Blacktron sets. I had to rebuild those, and I had to rebuild the Beta 1, and I had to rebuild the Space Supply Station. But that's also the fun of it. So this is where we are right now. It's coming together nicely. And I think there's going to be a few more of this type where there's going to be lots of space between the ships, because again, this is all that came with Blacktron, and Space Police is going to be, it doesn't even have like a big base. It has like a 16 by 32 base plate, and the big capital ship and a couple smaller ones. So I don't know if even it's going to have the width of the Blacktron 1987. So, you know, and then it goes on from there. So Space Police, and then M-Tron, and blah, blah, blah. I'm liking it. I don't know if other people will appreciate this at all. Some people have said they like my TikToks. So maybe this is going to be good enough for a show. And, you know, I think for some of us, it's just going to be just a walk down memory lane. I mean, these are the sets we had when we were kids, right? And if you had at least one classic space set, or any of, when I mean classic space in this context, anything between 1978 and 1999, if you had one of them, it's going to be there. Because that's my whole point of doing all this and doing all the reviews. You'll have one of each and every set. This also makes me, so this is contemplation time for me, because again, I had to go through 4 totes to find that guy and that guy. And that just got annoying very, very fast. I think one big show is showing off all the sets I have, and then I'm going to start selling, because it was just a pain in the butt, and they're taking up a lot of space and totes in the garage. So we will see what happens with that. But this is going to be a while. This is not going to be even this year, like, because the year's winding down, and we have a lot of family stuff and a lot of Christmas stuff and blah, 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 that I will not be able to focus on this. So this is just kind of, oh, I have 5 minutes. Let me rearrange a few squares, or let me haul out a few sets and measure them. I need the length and width. So when I round it off to the nearest 1/2 inch, and then for the square themselves, I add 1 inch. So if something is 6 inches wide and 7 inches long, the square is 7 by 8. And then when I put it down like this and I say, oh, I can fill it in, I expand the borders a little bit. That's why the 6890 there has a lot of space around it, because it had to encompass these two that were teamed together. So, you know, it is layout, design. That's all part of it. But in the end, I think it's going to work. And in the end, I think when it's vibrant color printed on vinyl instead of this dull, grayish color that I get in here, I think it's going to look a lot better. And I'm looking forward to it. So I'll keep you posted. And I see a lot of ums here. So that's it. That's all. A nice quick video. I want everybody to stay safe, take care, and I will talk to everybody soon.